Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. Gents, it is album review time once again, and for this review, Duncan Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Finnish Metalcore sextet, One Morning Left. The band's new album, Hyperactive, is out on May 21st on Rising Empire. So, this is the fourth album from this Finnish six-piece, who have been active since around 2008. Not without their lineup changes though. This new album sees new members Tuka on guitar, Miska on bass, and keyboard player Tuko from the band's original Panda Heart Penguin lineup in 2008. This album is 10 tracks long, 36 minutes in length, and follows up the band's 2016 release Metalcore Superstars. Duncan is laughing his head off. I'm not entirely sure why. What have I said?
Something about a penguin.
Panda Heart Penguin.
Yes.
Sorry,
that sounds like a graphic zoo accident.
It does. It sounds like sounds like the not the thing that you want to hear from your vet when you've brought your dog in for heart surgery. So what was the operator? Panda Heart Penguin. Yes, your dog's fine now, but it can't fly. And it only shags once every 10 years. Sorry. What a bizarre name for a fucking album.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just hit me just right.
Exactly. Right, okay.
You know, like when they say that people have a stroke, the words that come out their mouth are just not related in a sentence. When they try and do like a sentence, and they'll just say it's gibberish. That's what I genuinely thought had happened to you. So, which and you'll be glad to know that my initial reaction was to giggle like a schoolgirl and put my hands over my mouth. So
it'll be fine.
You'll walk it off. You'll walk it off.
I heard one of the singles from this album, Sinners Are Winners, I think it was called, and I instantly sent it to you guys on the old group chat. And I think I said something like, if Eskimo Callboy did 80s sleaze rock infused metalcore, it would sound something like this.
Yes, and this is now coming back to me, and this also now rings a bell why that song sounded familiar again. I'm forgetting whole swaths. To me, it's what they sounded like what would happen if Children of Bodom did the soundtrack for Rocky IV. So literally what it sounded like. Or if Eskimo Callboy did the soundtrack for the Streets of Rage arcade game, because it's all in there. It's all fucking in there.
Yeah. And that the track also came with a nice little side of cowbell, which is an instant win for me, to be honest. And from that track alone, I thought this might be quite a fun release to review. It didn't sound on that track anyway that they were taking themselves too seriously, kind of in like an Eskimo Cowboy type way, and plus that element of the kind of 80s rock mixed with the synths had me kind of quite keen to check out the rest of the album. I'd never heard of them before, so I was quite surprised to hear that they've been on the go since 2008, something like that. I went back to check out their previous album. It's called Metalcore Superstars from 2016, just to get an idea of how they sounded back then, how they had progressed up until this album. I was surprised to hear though there are no 80s rock influences on that album at all. It still has the metalcore element, which is the kind of main style with some electronics and synths, but the kind of 80s rock thing seems like a brand new addition to their sound, which is kind of cool because it shows that these guys aren't kind of complacent just to put out the same thing time and time again. They're willing to try something different to see if it works. And in my opinion, I think this does work. The mashup of styles really kind of complement each other. I'm quite surprised I haven't heard other stuff like this. I'm sure there are bands out there doing the kind of metalcore thing with a more kind of rock edge, but I can't say I've really heard much of it. But you can pretty much hear, like, from the first track, that the kind of songwriting has come on leaps and bounds since like 2016. These songs sound like far more polished. They're more kind of to the point, and the majority of the tracks do have a really cool like hook to them. I think they call them bangers these days. I think it still has like that kind of Eskimo Callboy meets. I was getting a bit of a we butter with the bread with butter type feel to it.
Oh god, yeah! Wow, fuck's sake, blasting fast.
Yeah, that kind of like whole kind of electronic metalcore type thing. They still load the tracks with like big riffs and big breakdowns, but the way they've kind of integrated that with these, like, I don't even know how to describe it, like a Europe meets Van Halen or Motley Crue.
Eurovision.
Like,
this is the beginning of a Eurovision metal scene, right? It really is. I'm thinking Amaranthi, was that last year?
yeah,
Amaranthi, exactly the fucking same, where songs, they're heavy, they're really well written, but they are laced with European pop. Like, there's European pop ripping out of this, like, from the get-go, like, from the very first song. I mean, and it's in the choruses. This is another album where, wall to wall, every single chorus is fucking memorable. Like, every single one of them is absolutely memorable. And, as I said earlier on in the recording, not anyone can write a heavy riff. Most people that can learn guitar can write a heavy riff. I can't write a heavy riff. I can mouth a heavy riff, but I can't write a heavy riff. To write like a catchy hook, which then the rest of the band can compose around and stay with you after the listening, is difficult. To then replicate that front to back on an album is just not easy. It really, really isn't, and they've nailed it on this.
Yeah, absolutely have, yeah. But even when they kind of lean more on the metal side of things, like there's the tracks like Drown God or Live Laugh Love or Worry Less Dance More. The guitar work isn't like paint by numbers metalcore either. Like, those tracks in particular had some really like technical progressive elements, both in the kind of riffs and the lead work, which showed that these guys can actually turn up the complexity when they want. You know, I mean, their skills aren't limited at all. There were moments of, like, I was getting like a kind of hint of like Protest the Hero in there at times, especially in the lead work, which makes me think like they could do like an album of techie progressive metalcore and pull it off easily. But instead they've decided to do something way more commercial, and they've, as you say, they've absolutely nailed it. I think the other thing these guys have going for them is the dual vocals. I think the mix of those two different tones between, I think it's Mika and Levy, I think the guitarist, brilliant. I actually really like that. I think without that back and forth between them, those the kind of opposite textures, this would be a very different sounding album without that. It wouldn't have been nearly as catchy or anthemic. So I give props to them for delivering some really good vocal chops on both sides. I think for me, the only kind of small criticism that I had was kind of towards the end of the album. There was a couple of tracks that just it didn't quite land as impactfully, I suppose, for me as the tracks at the start of the album. They weren't bad tracks at all by any means, just maybe didn't like sink their hooks in as deep. But that aside, I found this was a really fun, really catchy album. It's not a demanding album at all. Like, you can stick this on and just enjoy it. Like, after the week we've had where we've listened to Stained non-stop, this was something I really enjoyed. I really needed it. You know, like, you don't have to give this your undivided attention, you know what I mean? And I mean that in a good way. Like, sometimes that's what you want. So I really enjoyed it. A real fun album, really catchy, you know, like, as you say, memorable choruses and hooks. And I could hear like a huge improvement, like, from, if you listen to that last album from 2016, they've clearly been working hard on their songwriting, and I love the new elements they've incorporated into their sound. I think it's going to attract a ton more fans, and I can imagine this material will go down an absolute storm live. I think they're really good. What about you guys? What else did you think of this? Kyle, what did you think of this?
Oh man, this is like if Within Temptation hate fucked Hadouken and their baby was raised by Dragon Force. That's what I thought about it.
Yes, there's a bit of Dragon Force in there actually. Yep.
It's just like it's got all the metal and all the pop.
Man, hate fuck
and it's got some
might be the name of something we have to do in the future. Oh man, that is so good.
It's got all of that. Within Temptation, sort of Evanescence, operatic, well, not operatic, but there's high lady vocals and everything. I quite like that. I quite like how not all of it was for me. Like you said, I think it dragged on a little bit in the middle, and by the end I was like, oh, okay, I've had enough. But in the beginning, I was pretty much hooked. It was like great hooks and great lead lines and really good songwriting. Production wasn't for me, but that's a different thing. I'm gonna start calling it pixel perfect production.
Ooh, I like it.
Instead of running off on a rant about fucking drums or something.
You're not going to do that, though. You said you were going to do that, so you're going to do that.
No, I'm not going to do that now. But no, that aside, it's like, it was quite unique. I haven't really heard much like it. I've heard a lot of stuff where they mix metal and synths and, different types of vocals, but nothing quite like this. They've got a unique sound, but I think, props to them for that, especially since they've been going since 2008. And as you say, they sound different since their previous few albums and stuff. But with the lineup change as drastic as this, they probably will sound a lot different. But all of the stuff was really, the riffs were good, and the leads were good, and the vocal lines were great, and the keyboard synth work was really good too. So I can't really fault it, except it just went on a bit too long for me. Yeah. So I'm just like, I just got kind of over it by 6, because I think it was track 1 to 5 sort of sounded a bit too similar for me, and I was just like. They're all good and well written, but it was just like there wasn't too much variation. But then track 6 came on, and I honestly wasn't looking forward to that one because the name of it was Live, Laugh, Love. Yep. And I thought it was going to be some fucking sappy ballad or something, but no, it was the heaviest track on the album, and I was like, yes! So that propped them right back up for me. But after that I was like, it's all a bit samey again. So, it's good stuff, it's just a lot of the same good stuff. So, but it's totally an album you can like put on in the background and enjoy. It's like what you'd hear in one of those alternative stores in the mall, and you wouldn't hate it, and you might even ask what it is. The person, what's this playing? It's a band from Finland. Who the fuck's that? Yeah. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's good time music. You can imagine that on a night out and stuff. People been right into that.
I would absolutely play this at a party, and if they came live, I would go see them live, because imagine this stuff live would be a fucking hype fest. That'd be amazing.
Hyper,
Yeah. Except better, because that song got old quick.
No, never. I'm still listening to it.
Yeah, but that's just you, Duncan.
give me an anthem, I will treat it like an anthem.
Yeah.
Discard it like a sneezed on tissue.
But I can imagine going to see these live and enjoying it even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Duncan?
Kind of maybe just a little bit above used to. I don't think I'm hugely above where you're coming from. I think it's a really good album. I think the guitar work specifically is excellent on this. I love the production. I think the production is 100%. This is suited to what the band are doing. Yes,
I agree.
At times it is very kind of artificial and synthetic-y, but to be honest, the music they're kind of emulating from an 80s perspective, that's what was used. Those poppier elements are kind of in there. The synth work and synth choice and tone is 100% amazing. Absolutely love it. Very authentic to the time period. And what I noticed while listening to it is they cover a lot of different quirks from the 80s. Like the single you're on about, which has cowbell, also has a very rock riff. Compared to they don't do that in any other song, so it's like a kind of standout thing. Once again, like Kyle was saying, you get Live, Laugh, Love, which is almost it's a playful part on the album because it subverts expectation by having a name which makes you think it's going to be a lighter track than it actually is. So there's playfulness in here. My concern coming into 2021 was there was just going to be a ton of bands that released albums that were just the most fucking depressing, miserable shit ever, because everyone's been locked away for a year and it's been fucking miserable and all the rest. And a band like this who come along with an album like this, which is so uplifting and so bouncy and so cheery and infectious, and it's got grooves and it's got hooks and it's got melodies and it works. It makes me smile. Like I go back to that comparison to Amaranthi, which was an album which I remember when it came out, me and you were like, I suppose we might as well check it out. And then before I knew it, I'd listened to it 3 times straight, and I'm like, what the fuck? What is it about this album? And it's the hooks. It's the hooks that bring you back every single time. This album has been played maybe 3-4 times since I downloaded it. All of them on a treadmill, because I'm treadmilling like a motherfucker at the moment, ladies and gents. And this is treadmill music. Oh yes, it is. We 5k in the morning, shove this on. You think you're Rocky. I'm literally like, this is music for a Rocky montage. Like Rocky is training in the hills of Finland before he fights Ivan Drago's third cousin, Dinky Drago. So like, it really is. There's just something really concise, catchy, punchy, uplifting, and it is very uplifting. If you're wanting to listen to something that makes you feel angry or vents out your aggression, this is not the album to listen to. If you're looking for something that puts a smile on your face, this is 100% the album that you should be listening to. I'll echo you guys. There's maybe 2 songs towards the end which are a bit indifferent compared to what you've heard before. But I think the album finishes strong. I like Hyperactive, the title track being the closer. I like that. Drown God's a great song. Neon Highway, Ruby Dragon. The first Ruby Dragon as an opener could be Streets of Rage's theme song. Like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my god, I wanted money, I wanted I wanted to be in an arcade, and I wanted to be mashing the buttons and, you know, defeating some child that cried. Like, genuinely, just like, in your face, you little prick. Like, I was just, it's that sort of album. It's just a very uplifting, very happy, surprisingly well written album, because like you were saying, Dave, there's trappings that come with this sort of music. And that trapping is, well, we've got a synth that's playing quite a lot of stuff here, so the guitar doesn't necessarily need to be doing that much else except power chords. And the guitar work is especially interesting because there's a bit of lead work in here which really works really well with the synths and adds an additional layer of melody. It's a very, very, very well written album, and it's one I guarantee I'm going to come back to this loads this year. Maybe not top 10 worthy for me, but it's an album that, you know, you find it I'll find it very hard pushed not to be hitting play on it when I want something just to change the mood of the room or change what I'm listening to.
This is going to be great for getting up to in the morning, because I'm such a grumpy fuck when I wake up. And put this on, I'm like, hey, the world is great for 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah, it does. It's just a very uplifting. See, I kind of feel the same way, but I kind of feel the same way we did about Eskimo Callboy. Eskimo Callboy's album, which I don't think, EP, I don't think it's as good as this. I think they experimented a bit too much in certain parts, but it has the same overall kind of vibe about it. It's just something that makes you smile, and like I say, in a world where we're going to be getting a lot of stuff, and we're on the precipice of God knows how many other albums, which are going to be drab, as the Scots would say.
Sound like I've got an album to delete and rewrite.
Thanks,
Duncan.
Dreich, as the Scots would say. This is brilliant. It's uplifting, it's bouncy, it's cheery. And like Kyle said, if they tour, 100% going to go and see them.
Yeah.
And a band that'll be an absolute blast live. And once again, Finland's a sleeping giant when it comes to bands. I swear, there's so much stuff that comes out of that country that I just gravitate to really fucking fast. So a weird little country. Well, it's not very little, but a weird country. They drink more coffee per head of population than anywhere else in the world. Bet you didn't know that. You do now. No. It's a true story.
It's because there's no sun. They got to stay awake somehow.
I also don't think it's nice coffee. I think I used to work with a guy from Finland who was over visiting his parents and brought me Finnish coffee over, and I tasted it, and mud is probably the best descriptor for it. Not nice.
Okay. Thankfully, the music is slightly better.
Yes.
So, one morning left, Hyperactive. What are we thinking for ratings for this album? I did enjoy this, actually. I really did. And I don't know if it's because I came off a week of, listening to fucking Stained for that Twitch stream we did. But
I tell you what, it is going to be a while.
Those jokes are never going to go old. So yeah, I think this came at a really nice time for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As you said, I think they're really good songwriters. To be able to kind of add all these pieces together, make it sound cohesive and not just kind of bits that kind of stick out like a sore thumb. It's all done really well, and I can hear, as I said, the improvement since that last album. So for me, I'd probably go a strong 4 out of 5 on this one. I think I did enjoy it, and I can see myself going back to it absolutely. Kyle, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go 3.5 out of 5 purely because the production is not for me. But on the other hand, if it sounded more natural and more like how I like to hear stuff, it probably wouldn't have suited it so well. So it's like, but I felt like the back end of the album up to the last song dragged on a bit for me. So I'm going to go 3.5.
Okay, cool. And Duncan?
I'm joining you on 4, Dave. It's a 4-star album for me.
Nice one. Hyperactive drops on May 21st. On Horizon Empire. If you want to check out the band, it's facebook.com/One Morning Left. I hope you enjoyed the album. Let us know what you think. And that is the review.